Hey guys, Tony, KD8RTT. Today I'm going to do a video on a question I've heard a lot. It's been posted online, QRZ, Reddit, whatever. I think I've seen it a lot of places. And that's, can you bring your ham radio on an airplane? Lots of people go on vacations or business trips, whatever, want to bring their radio and operate while they're there. Something I've done many times and I enjoy doing, and I plan to continue doing that. But a lot of people are kind of worried, are they going to get a hassle from airport security, basically? And in my experience, the short answer is no. You'll have no issues. You can bring it. I'll preface this by saying that you, of course, can't use it on the airplane. That's illegal no matter what. On a commercial airliner, you cannot use a ham radio on an airplane. On a private plane, that's a different story. But if you bring the radio on, you can't use it. Now, that said, I've used it in the airport. I've used an HT in the airport to listen as a scanner, to listen to air traffic control, because I find that interesting, being a pilot, but can't use it on the plane. So, I guess I'll get started with the simplest thing. Most people probably going to want to bring an HT. This is my Yaesu FT60R, and I've brought this probably on every flight I've been on since I've become a ham. So, I don't know, that's probably like 10 or so trips, and I brought it on every, the airline doesn't really matter for airport security, of course, but, different airlines. And brought it in my carry-on bag. They've never said a word. Now, when I originally looked into this, before I did it, people suggested bringing your license or having it easily accessible. Of course, you're supposed to have your license if you plan on transmitting anyway, but have it readily accessible that if they do question you about it, you would say, oh, well, I have a license. Not like, that's really such a heavy thing to have that license to possess a radio, but it might help. So, of course, I would recommend having it near you, or easy to access, I guess, if you get questioned. But you'll have no issues with an HT. And, I bring the HT, the charger, I brought a speaker mic, and never had a problem. The next thing, I guess I'll kind of go up by size, is like a QRP radio. In here, I keep my Elecraft KX2, and as you can see, this isn't that big. I've basically taken this, put this in my carry-on, same way, brought it on the plane, and had really no issues. This radio is pretty small, so it doesn't really, big, dense things through X-ray look suspicious, or at least I want to look into them more. So I haven't had any issues with the KX2. That was through, let's see, I flew from Albany to Orlando with it, didn't have a problem with it. Before I had this, I brought my FT817, and I kept that in a plastic container, a little bit bigger than that. I also had a lithium-ion battery pack in the same container, microphone, everything. So it was a pretty dense, piece of kit in my luggage. And when I went through Indianapolis, they pulled my bag aside, opened it up, and wanted to see what that was, basically. So opened that up. They took their little swab, I guess, for the explosive residue or whatever, chemical stuff. And that was it. Then they didn't ask me about it, didn't press me about it, just kind of checked that and let me go on my way. So, 2 different QRP radios. Again, really no issue. They might pull it aside. Of course, be patient, be polite, don't worry about it. And I've even gone bigger than that. I brought my FT450D, which is a base station HF radio, and I brought that, I think, one trip. I flew from Cleveland to Seattle with that, and put it in my carry-on roller bag, padded it with some clothes, basically, and brought the power supply also, and a microphone, basically. And when I went through security, they pulled my bag aside, opened it up, and had me put the radio through the X-ray machine again by itself. Similar to laptops, they're just really dense with electronics. It's this big mass that they just want to see what it was. So, didn't give me a hassle about it again, but, it said, next time, if you could pull it out and put it through a tray by itself, that'd be great, so they don't have to do it again, basically. So, that's really my experience. I've brought big HF rig and an HT, all the way down to an HT on flights, and haven't really had an issue. Of course, a disclaimer that, just because I had a success doesn't mean you necessarily will, and the TSA agent feels like you shouldn't have the radio, they can take it away. They have the final say. There's no policy against radios, but they, of course, have the final say. But yeah, so, at the very least, bring an HT. If you're wondering, I think most hams want to. They're interested to hear what's there. So I always bring my HT, never had any issues. So Yeah, that's really it. I guess let me know if you have any different experience below. I'd be interested to hear if you've they've told you no or given you a hassle about it before, but I haven't heard anything. The one thing I will note before I forget is sealed lead acid batteries can be an issue, and this is where things might become an issue in general is batteries. There's limits for lithium ion batteries, although that's for if you're bringing a big battery pack external to like a QRP radio, that could become an issue. And sealed lead acid batteries, I've heard are a big issue. Now, they're technically allowed if they're truly sealed, mark sealed. They are allowed on the airplane in a carry-on bag, but a lot of TSA agents apparently don't understand that or don't care to. I don't know. I've heard lots of stories of people getting their sealed lead acid batteries taken away to the point that I've never brought one because I just don't want to deal with it. And yeah, they're cheap, relatively. So if one is taken away, it's not like it's the end of the world. Then you got to figure out what you're going to do when you get to your destination for power. So wouldn't recommend bringing sealed lead acid batteries. Wouldn't recommend bringing big lithium ion battery packs or many of them. If you go over to the TSA site, they have a whole thing about lithium ion battery packs, and that's a fire concern because they can't easily extinguish those. So that's really the only thing. But like I said, in general, it shouldn't have an issue. So yeah, hopefully this helps. Let me know if you had different experiences or what you guys think. And I'll see you again later. 73.